Hey, welcome tonight. We're so excited that you joined the book club tonight. All things business book review. Tonight, we're concluding chapter 6 of 10x is easier than 2x. So we're going to conclude this tonight with chapter 6. And joining us in the studio tonight, and it's going to go over the book with us, we got Mr. Harrison Mills from Fresno, California. Good evening, sir.
Hello, hello.
How you doing?
I'm awesome. Can you believe we're at almost the end of the chapter? Cannot believe it. Wow.
I know, quickly. And we'll be announcing later our new book for the next upcoming book review. Miss Rutherford from Ohio.
Upset that we're at the end of the book. I'm going to have to go back through it again.
There you go, dear. Glad you got our copy up ready to show and everything. I love it. And last and certainly not least, tonight we got Miss Kathleen Williams from Sacramento, California. How you doing, Miss Williams?
I am doing fantastic, sir. I can't believe it. We're already through. Tonight we wrap up chapter 6. I just can't believe it.
Yeah, I mean, this has been a good book, and I hope our audience around the world have been enjoying it chapter by chapter. And like I said, if you haven't got your copy, get your copy and go through it yourself and highlight it. Don't just read the book, but go back through the book and highlight it, and then get a journal and journal what you learned out of the book. I remember one of my billionaire mentors, Mr. Peter Daniels, always taught about that. A lot of other leaders would teach me the same thing. So just don't read a book, study a book, okay? And with that said, tonight, if you guys want to take a moment and maybe text somebody that you want them to join in, or maybe you got somebody who you thought of, and when we're over, also leave a comment below and also hit the subscribe button. We greatly appreciate it. We do love comments. And even as we're going through the book, if you have a question, please add into that as well in the comments below. So we're going to start off in chapter 6, everybody, which is going to be on page 199. And for you folks out there in the listed audience, if you got your book, you can go 199, chapter 6, Building a Self-Managing Company. Evolving from micromanaging to transformational leader is so important. And the first paragraph here, Mr. Tim Ferriss said, as soon as I remove myself as a bottleneck, profits increased by 40%. What on earth did I do when you no longer have to work as excuse to be hydroactive and avoiding the big question? So he talks about this. Once he moved himself out the way, his business took off. And he says, be terrified and hold on to your assets. I'll leave with that word instead of what the word says there. Both hands, apparently. So, in other words, once he got out of sight of being the bottleneck for his company, his business increased by 40%. Mr. Harrison Mills, give us a comment on what you got out of that.
Pretty neat. It opens me up to new ideas of what I need to do for my own self, get my own self out of the way. And sometimes once you have a great system and that system is working, sometimes all you have to do is step aside and let the system work for you.
Mm-hmm. Very true. Very true. Miss Rutherford?
You know, I often think about different shifts and different businesses that I see where the upper management is micromanaging the people that they're supposed to be supervising instead of allowing them to come into their leadership. It also made me think about my granddad, who was a self-made millionaire, but he couldn't enjoy his money because he hadn't learned how to build a self-managing company.
Yeah, that's amazing. A lot of times what happens, people work in the business when they should be working on the business and working on themselves to be better. And that's what a lot of people fall short of. Miss Kathleen Williams, what's your comment on what we just talked about?
My comment is piggybacking on to Miss Rutherford's is the micromanagers that are out there in the corporate world don't understand transformation at all. And as a result, nobody grows at all. They're all stagnant.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, like you said, once you get out of the way, his business went up 40%. And boy, that's a good one. Let's hop over. Miss Sherian out there in Florida, thank you so much for a nice comment there. Let's jump over to page 205 for the second question. And it says, number one, halfway down the page, level 1 to level 2 entrepreneur, and level 2. Yeah, and the number 2 says level 2 to level 3 entrepreneur. So in level 1, he's talking about being a rugged individual and finding out that he needs to do the work by being on top of everybody there. And level 2, he talks about going to level 2 means becoming and applying his who's. So let's start off with you, Mr. Mills.
So, reading this itself, let me say I'm a novice to this, which at the same time is not a bad thing. Continue being brand new to learning and opening up to this. But the one thing that gets me is like it's a catch-22 because we're trained to stay in phase 1. You want to be out on the ground, you want to be on foot, but at the same time, you have to find out the right placement to let go. When is it time to let go and let it just move on, let it do its thing. You pushed enough, so it's you have to find that balance on there. So that going from that level 1 to the level 2, level 3, that's finding that fine point there.
Yeah. And level 2, he talks about finding a replacement that can do it better than you can, which is a good fit. Ms. Rutherford, what's your comments on that?
I'm looking for at least 6 dynamic leaders that can take it over and do things way better than me. And so I can't be intimidated by that ideology. And I tell people all the time, and I know they think I'm nuts, but I said, baby, I'm looking for somebody better than me because I don't want to do this forever. I want to have fun. I want my 150 days, that we talked about a couple of chapters ago. So, yeah, I got a plan.
Yeah, I see you're still back on that 150 days. I love it. I love how you're bringing that to this conversation in chapter 6. Ms. Williams?
And those rugged entrepreneurs, that's fine when you're starting out to be a rugged entrepreneur, but you're never going to get to those 150 days by being a rugged entrepreneur. You have to, because you become the bottleneck, as pointed out. And yeah, once you bring in people that enjoy doing what they're doing, because you probably don't enjoy everything you're doing, your business is going to grow in ways you never anticipated.
That's so true. Find out those who's. All right, well, let's jump over the page. I also want to thank Mr. Adrian O'Neill for tuning in here in Las Vegas. He says, replace yourself. And Ms. Sharon in Florida said, duplication. Thank you so much for your comments. Let's jump over to page 206, the top of the page, number 3, level 3 to level 4 entrepreneurship. I'm going to read the first paragraph. It says, going from level 3 entrepreneurship to having a self-managing company to level 4 entrepreneurship means everything happens around you, including in your business, operating as self-multiplication, unique ability for teamwork. What do you guys want to say about that, Mr. Mills?
Success. Successful. To see a machine going, sometimes it's just like this. Once you have that you have the culture, you have the system, you have the connection, you have all you're doing is watching it multiplying itself and watching it work. That deserves, whoever it may be, a pat on the back. Now, I'm not saying you have to be, big-headed about it, but that's a great, successful place to be.
Yeah, that is so much. Ms. Rutherford.
If it ain't broke, don't fix it. And if it's doggone it, oil it up and let it go. Because you've already done the hard work. You've done the searching and the teaching. And so once that person or persons, your team, your leaders step up, you let them do their thing until you have to correct them, or if hopefully you don't need to correct them because you've implemented a great system.
Thank you, dear. That was good. Ms. Williams?
And you're allowing to go when you go from 3 to 4, you're allowing all of your who's to dump that 80% that's not where they want to be and to focus on their 20%. And when everybody's focusing on their 20%, growth occurs.
Really does. That's a very good comment. I'm going to go down on the same page down below in the dark writings there at the bottom. It says level 1 to level 2 entrepreneurship, from rugged individuals to leaders, applying who, not how. And then Dan Sullivan said, you cannot have an innovative, increase, more profitable company unless you have a self-managing company. With the day-to-day activities of running your business managed by your team, very important, you're free to look at the big picture vision, continually innovating greater and greater value, and even transforming your marketplace. Mr. Harrison Mills.
Love it. You know, that was really has a lot packed in there. Once again, I just look at a portrait that you're looking at, that you've just been painting, you've been creating. You've got this whole masterpiece that you have that's going together. And sometimes I would even say this, and this is for me, it's hard to let your hands off of it, because it's like, is this real? Can I touch it? Is it okay if I can? Something's wrong. I must have did something, because you've been working so hard to get to the place that you're trying to get to, and now you're actually there. You're there. And this is what's so cool about it. It's that saying it's not how well you started, but how well you finished. How well you finished at it once you get to that top there. And what other things can I offer with it? There's some things I've seen you do. Now, hey, let's make some challenges going on now on the way. Let's add some prizes, some door prizes. Let's add some different things along. Let's make this culture fun. Now I'm just adding little tinsels to what's already there.
I love it. Thank you. That was good. That was very good. Miss Rutherford.
It was a great analogy. When I looked at this, it reminded me of having a new baby in the house. And you have to, you can't even get comfortable because you want to make sure that they're okay. And so when Harrison said, it's hard for you to take your hands off of it. You're constantly coming around the corner. Are they sleeping in the right position? And if I sleep too hard, doggone it, did I let them do something they didn't need to do? Well, we're dealing with adults, and I love that. And so if we've instilled what we needed to in these leaders, I think they're going to be okay.
Yeah, there you go. That's a good analogy. And as you were saying, I was thinking about baby meters. Those monitors you put in the baby's cribs to monitor the baby. So in business, what a lot of people do, they lead by listening to everything and want to hear everything. They're micromanaging everybody. And I thought about that when you said that with the meter, the monitors and the baby's bassinet. So yeah, it's important. Miss Williams.
And as they monitor those bassinets, the kids are going to do what the kids are going to do. And, if we don't let the kids do some of the things and take that fall every time they take 10 steps or 2 steps, they're never going to grow and be able to walk. They'll crawl all their life, and you get to carry them. And I'm not in the mood to carry a 120-pound kid.
I love it. I remember I was on a cruise and I was laying in bed and watching a movie late night, and it was this baby kept crying and crying, and the father kept rushing in there, and the granddaddy said, "No, let him cry. Otherwise, he's going to train you. You're going to break him. Let him cry. He'll be okay." And I thought about that as well. That's leadership. Letting them learn from that mistake. Let them learn and grow. Very good. Well, let's hop over to page 209. You have something else you want to say, Mr. Mills? You look like you were.
It's funny that how we're talking about this as though it's my baby. This is my baby, and sometimes your business is your baby. It is absolutely that kind of thing. But then at the same time, a lot of things that you all were saying, that what got you where you're at won't get you where you're here. That some things will fall, some things will break, and sometimes it's like you got to put a Band-Aid on it, and sometimes it's like, hey, sometimes you got to put a cast on it. Let's just break the whole leg and start that whole thing back all over again. So
that's so true. Good analogy. I love it. Thank you so much. Folks out there listening around the world, I know you guys got some analogies, some good stuff out of this. Boy, it's going to get better as we go on tonight. Let's hop over to page 209, the third paragraph down. Let's see, 1, 2, 3, 4, fourth paragraph down, where it says from 2009 to 2007, growth was linear and fairly slow for USCCA. Tim wasn't yet much of a leader. He didn't know how to apply the who, not how. And I'm going to jump down also like 1, 2 more paragraphs down under that, and we'll do all this together. It says, seeing that the company was showing strong signs of growth, Tim had a few realizations. First, he knew that USCCA was actually what he wanted to dedicate himself to. Second, he realized that in order for the company to grow, Tim would have to work on who? Tim, to become a true leader. Mr. Harrison Mills.
Man,
Bit off a lot right there.
it is a lot. Sometimes I think I'm crazy because I work on myself a little too much, and I'm listening to this or listening to that, or finding different classes or ways I can actually move forward, of finding ways to not micromanage. But really, I need to micromanage myself. I need to look at myself, start micromanaging myself, so that I can help out other people get what they want. Go from that point there. Another point that you said is Tim didn't know how to apply the who, not how.
Mhm.
And that is very key. And you can have all the skills in the world. I tell you, I just told someone else this last week. When I say I learned something, it wasn't, I have all the skills in the world. I can do everything. But if you don't have the who, the connection or anything, what are you there for?
Yeah.
It's great you know how to blow a trumpet, but do you have the marching band with you? Can you?
Wow.
Show.
There you go. Woo, got the marching band with you. Hey, I want to thank Fremont House for their comment. I want to thank Mr. Freddie Sherman out there. Learn by failing. Thank you, sir. Miss Rutherford, go ahead and chime in on this there.
Well, I love the part about this man admitting his faults and being controlling. See, I know some people who say I'm right even when I'm wrong. I'm right. And I just look at them because I know they're delusional, and I leave them where they are, because ain't no need of you trying to speak sense into somebody who doesn't realize it. So my biggest project is me being the best version of Marvetta. And if I don't do that every day, I've wasted some time. And God knows that we're all here in purpose. So, I like the fact that he had to work on himself. And he knew that he was a work in progress. And I guess he told other people, see. So that's important.
I think it's pretty significant. He realized, like this, it said, secondly, he realized in order for the company to grow, Tim had to work on himself to become a true leader. So he realized that he needed to work on himself. Powerful. Miss Williams.
Yeah, and I find this quite interesting because he formed this new company right after his son was born. And it was like, oh. And I think that there's a correlation between him realizing he needed to grow and watching his son grow. And he knew that as his son grew, he had to set a better example and a higher standard for himself, so his son would have a higher standard to achieve. The comment of nobody does the job as good as I do. So many managers see things that way. So many people see it. No, you can't do it because you're going to mess it up. Well, let them mess it up. Maybe they'll come up with a better idea than you did too.
I say sometimes I'm like this. Let them have it. You want it, you can have it. You think you can do a better job? Please take it.
Amen.
There you go. Let's jump on to page 212. And I'm going to go down to the second paragraph. A lot of the up front there, it talked about how he changed up and he lost members, but he slimmed down to go bigger. So I'm going to take it off from it. Says immediately half of his membership left. USCCA went from 50,000 renewing members to 25,000 in a single day. It felt great. Tim told me about cutting his customer base in half. Listen to this. And focusing on quality over quantity. Wow. Even after cutting the clients in half, the business was now making more than double what it was before. and was far more profitable. Higher quality, less quantity. Wow. Laser focus and clarity of mission up and purpose, rather than trying to be everything that a lot of people do for a large group of people. USCCA narrowed it in on the niche and target group of people. Wow. That's what could happen, because a lot of people feared if they do that, they're going to lose everybody. But what he did, he trimmed down and he built it back up like a tree being trimmed in the spring for the next season. Mr. Mills.
Beautiful. It speaks volumes to me. For one, I look at this as culture. That part was really just creating a culture. Do you want to have quantity as your culture, or do you want, quality, or do you want quantity as your culture? You know, and when he focused on just the quality itself, just from him focusing on that and giving it some expertise to it, his volume went up from just cutting off. And I guess it's saying this is that the other thing is, you said he cut it completely off, right? He cut off some people just to go higher. And it has me think of this. I'm laughing. I just talked to one of my sisters that's on here right now, and we were talking about how a biblical story, taking when wine was made, before that was a miracle. That was Jesus's first miracle, right? Well, anyway, right. The wine had to be all the way completely gone in order for that miracle to actually happen. Same thing with Lazarus. Lazarus had to die completely, and then he was resurrected from there. And so it has me even thinking about just the cultures that we have here. What I'm so busy trying to make this thing work here. It's like, actually, how about we just let it die so that we can build the culture back up? You know, maybe the culture was wrong. We just don't know it. It's not about quantity. It's about quality.
Exactly. You said a lot right there. We could drop the mic if I had one. Miss Rutherford.
I'm ready to just drop the mic, because he said so many profound things. But, you know, I've come to appreciate that this little thing right here is a device called a cell phone. And I was all into getting a lot of contacts. And this one has about 5,000 plus. But are they all quality? Would I feel good about bringing them home to meet my mentors? See, my baby is my baby is my business. And I look at my mentors like my parents. Now, I would hope that my kids would never bring somebody home that I don't approve of. It's the same thing. And Tim really shows the importance of focusing on quality people. Now, it's not up to you to discern who's quality and who's not. Believe it or not, it's just like my it's just like how I deal with my singleness. I give men enough rope to either lead properly or hang themselves. And it's worked out so well.
All right. Well, Miss Williams, you got to follow that one up.
Good grief. How do I follow both of these two up? The one thing I will make a comment in is the one thing that's come out of this book repeatedly is the importance of quality. If you want to go 10X, you go 10X for quality, not quantity. You cannot get 10X. 10X is quality. 2X is quantity.
Oh, so true. Boy, that was a good one. Well, go with me, everybody out there across the world. We're going to go to page 214 right now. And I'm going to start in the first paragraph, halfway down. It says, all to the right, all humans have a deep desire to feel a sense of belonging and connection to a group of people with shared beliefs and culture. And I'm going to drop down here on number 1 and number 2, he talks about different type of organizations, association, business needs, powerful original stories, and so on and so on. And number 2 talks about an ideology. You know, these needs to be there needs to be a mission and purpose in the organization to give people a goosebumps. So you have to have a mission. People follow people that have goals and missions. Mr. Harrison Mills.
I love it. You know, I think sometimes the missing piece some people have great belief, but the culture sucks, or it's a great culture, but what are you believing in? There's no belief. We're just here to party, between the two. But to have both of them coupled together shows a mighty punch. Is basically what this is showing on here. So I feel like this is actually a business plan, and it's usually the simple things of a business plan. Whatever it is that you're doing, you keep these two things in these entities, you'll be great.
I love it. Ms. Rutherford?
You know, the thing about this whole analogy in this chapter is that I was familiar with USCCA before he broke this down into who Tim was and what he had to do, stripping back, kind of like what we do in gardening when we prune to the point that somebody thinks we killed the plant. And in actuality, when it comes back, it's even better. But there has to be a purpose. And in my business, we call it a reason why, because it's different for each and every person. But what will make you do what you don't want to do? What will make you go the extra mile? Because it's normally on the extra mile where success is created.
Exactly. An extra mile makes a big difference. The more people quit before they get into the extra mile because they thought they ran a mile, but they forgot the little extra that gets you over there. Very good point. Ms. Williams?
People will hear what you say if you tell it as a story. And people will follow you if they understand your mission. And too many times, mission statements and purposes are a jumbled bunch of words put together that if you ask an employee or someone in the system what it means, they'll give you a blank stare because they have no idea.
Yeah. Also the number 3 is the symbol on page 215, and also the symbol. I read, the organization or association needs to have a strong sounding and clear name, as well as a symbol or logo people can associate it with the organization, which is so important. Like you talk about Nike here, and it goes on to some more. And I'm going to drop down to number 4. It says share rituals. Activities. What sense of belonging, a sense of being a part of something big. And that's what a lot of people want. And on the next page, number 5, it says the enemy, which is a lot. There's also sometime within the camp of you trying to be successful, you're going to have enemies within the camp you may not know. And number 5, it says you have to have an enemy. Tim said, interestingly, it's often easier for people to bond on what they don't like than what they do. Wow. So we're going to go to you, Ms. Rutherford, real quick.
Yep. Wow. Well, I guess that's very much the truth, because if the Son of Man had an enemy, why wouldn't you have one? See? And so it started off that they started at the same camp with the source, with the creator. But because you have an enemy, okay, what do? Do you fight through it? Or do you lay down, put your thumb in your mouth and start whining and crying because you got an enemy? The choice is yours. The enemy is going to be there. And if you allow them and give them your power, well, so be it.
Yeah, so be it. Ms. Williams?
I have noticed that people look for symbols that they can use to identify who they're with. Saying that, they also look for rituals, and rituals come down to things like activities, conferences, shirts. Shirts become symbols. But at the same time, who are we identifying as our enemy? And sometimes I don't think we know who our true enemy really is.
Yeah, that's a good point. And when you said rituals and people, I was listening to one of the old Art Williams videos early today. It was about 59 minutes long, and he was talking about how people, when he was building his company, Art Williams, A.L. Williams, that people would people were making a couple $100,000 a month, I mean a year, and some were making a couple $100,000 a month, and a couple people that didn't get it, and they were giving away shirts at one of their rallies, and people got so pissed because they didn't get acknowledged to get one of those shirts. He said the shirt only ran $2.50, but it was one of our logo shirts, and he said people actually went to bed that night upset that they didn't get a shirt, that they vowed to be on top of the charts to get a $2.50 shirt at the next upcoming quarterly event they had. And I thought that was so true, because people, the rituals, they want to be a part of a club, something they can affiliate themselves with, and and show recognition with, and feel great about. People work, I've learned this a long time ago, people work harder for recognition than they do for money a lot.
Yeah.
Got to be recognized. One of the traits of all human beings, I believe. All right, ladies, let's jump over to page 222. Second paragraph. The question: what if you can't afford a who? Oh, this gets good. I'm gonna read the first sentence. You cannot afford not. I'll say it again. You can't afford not to get a who. Don't see them as a cost. Getting a who is an investment in yourself and your results. The longer you wait to get a who, the more of your time and energy will be stuck up in the 80%. So true. Miss Rutherford.
Well, I love it in that, the ideology that they call them energy vampires. There are people out here that will suck you dry and bring nothing to the table. They come to the cookout with all their Tupperware, and they haven't even brought a bag of ice, you understand? But they're who they are. And so if you decide that you're going to spend your time with green apples that are somewhat brown, then you're going to find yourself tired and beating yourself up because you did not believe in the ideology of 10Xing.
Great. That's great. This reminds me of a story that my billionaire mentor, Peter Daniels, told me. At his church in Australia, Mike, they had a board meeting, and the pastor said, "Can we get somebody to clean the church?" Notice the words, to clean the church. Peter raised his hand. He says, "Sir, pastor, I will have that done." I'll repeat his words. "I'll have that done." And that Saturday, the pastor came in to go into his office to get his sermon ready for Sunday, and he saw this stranger sweeping the floors. So he rushed in his office. He picked up his phone. He called Peter Daniels. Says, "Peter, I thought you were going to have the floors. I thought you were going to sweep the floors." He goes, "No, pastor. I said I was going to have it done." And he said, "Let me explain something, pastor. My time at that time was worth $200 an hour. Why should I do that when I could pay somebody $20 an hour, and I can still focus on what I do to create the $200 an hour?" And that lesson always stuck with me, always stuck with me. So get those people that can do it better. And what is your time worth? Good point. All right, Miss Williams, I'm sorry, I didn't jump in there.
That's okay. And the other thing is people so much in it, new business owners, new entrepreneurs, and people that are not entrepreneur or have no entrepreneurial thought process see spending money as a cost, not an investment in themselves.
Mm-hmm.
And I
ahead.
find it interesting. Everything is a cost. No, it's an investment.
It's an investment. And not only that, the benefits you get out of it.
Mm-hmm.
I like to get a massage every 2 weeks. Well, it's a cost to it, but no, I'm looking at the benefits of maintaining, the parasites in my body and massage and relaxing me. And, so people don't realize that everything should not be a cost. Ladies, let's jump over to page 224. We're going to talk about that a little bit more. Second paragraph, it says, "This happens regularly. Getting in the game, not the gap." This is what I really want to focus on. Everything happens for you, not to you. Miss Rutherford.
Wow, wow, wow. Yeah, this reminds me of people who are always the victim. Remember, I said a few minutes ago, they're always right. Even when they're wrong, they're right. Well, eh, eh, things are allowed to happen to us, I believe, and this is just me, for refining purposes. See, a diamond doesn't look that great until it's been under pressure. And then when it's freed from its surroundings, it begins to shine. It's the same thing for precious metal. You know, it's not that cute when you find gold ore, you understand, but when you purify it and take it through a process, you know, the same thing. You weren't clear on what you wanted. You didn't get to yourself as either a buyer or a seller, and you worry about whether or not you want results, but you don't want to put anything into it, as you talked about a few minutes ago. You'll invest $400 into a belt buckle, but you won't invest $400 into yourself.
Wow, so true. And also, I was coming to my next comment a little further down on the same page. The paragraph started off with often, but I'm going to go like 2 or 3 lines down. It says, "But I'm in the gain, not the gap." And a lot of times, like I said, people they want to gain, but they don't realize sometimes you got to go in the gap to get the gain. So let's jump over to page 225, the last paragraph on page 225. Everybody around out there in the audience. Level 2 and level 3 entrepreneurship from leaders applying who's, not how, to self-managing companies. And I'm going to quote what Dan Sullivan said: "Take your business 10x is the only possible by ensuring that you and everyone on your team is operating as quickly as possible within a self-managing company." Ms. Rutherford.
Well, I've said it before. My grandfather, one of the mistakes that he made was that he did not cultivate somebody else to manage his company so he and his wife could enjoy what they worked so hard about. It's important that we learn how to reproduce ourselves.
Mm-hmm. Miss Williams, thank you, dear.
Also, as you cultivate yourself and grow, if you don't cultivate others and grow, all you get is disgruntled employees.
That's so true. And then you have a turnover.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, so true. Well, everybody out there in the audience, let's hop over to page 231. We got these 5 bullet points on that page. What about you? Are you a rugged individual, or are you a leader applying who, not how? Number 1. Number 2, let's be real. Are you a true leader, or are you still a bottleneck manager? Ooh. Or number 3, do you trust your who's, or you only trust yourself? Ooh, that says a lot. Or number 4, can you imagine what it be and feeling like to have a self-managing company where you're free yourself up to explore, expand, and innovate, learn, and create, which I love? Or number 5, are you ready to become a transformational leader? Woo, there's a lot there. Miss Rutherford.
There is a lot here, and it's called the person in the mirror moment. It's time for us to just throw it all up there and be real honest and be real, and sometimes honesty doesn't really feel good, but that's okay, because I'd rather it not feel good than you to tell me everything you think I want to hear, and it's a complete lie. So when I come to the point, as Ms. Williams said, are we a transformational leader? Are we a self-managing machine? And do you trust the people that are around you? And if not, why not? And why are you there?
Wow, good points. Good points. Why are you there? Miss Williams.
And it's a growth process. I've seen it in my years as a nurse. There was many times I didn't trust others to do what I thought I could do myself, and I didn't trust them. But over the years and through self-development, I have learned that if I don't groom and build other people, they'll never grow either. And my job will just get harder and not easier.
Okay. Yeah, that's so true. And a lot of times people have problems with trusting other people to fulfill what they do. You know, a doctor can only do what he does. People in that nursing, they can only do what they do. You know, a lawyer, nobody can do it better than he can. You know, it's like they're self-imposed. So let's jump over to page 236. What about you? And these 5 points here. I'm just do the top 3. Do you take your unique ability seriously enough to free yourself from the 80%? Number 2, do you lead by example in creating a culture of freedom where those on your team are given permission to take their unique ability seriously as well? Or next, does your self-managing team have the confidence to go all in on their unique abilities, homing their own roles and bringing on additional who's to manage their former 80%? Ms. Rutherford.
Well, sometimes I have to tell people, and sometimes it's not even business related, but in life, you sometimes have to make an executive decision. And if that's what you have to call it, okay. But it's the confidence of going in and doing what you feel is right. And if you find out that you're wrong, so be it. But dang, at least have the confidence or the ideology that I should try. See? And so, are you free? It has to start here. It really does. Because those are the biggest chains that anybody could ever put on themselves. Right there, it was 6 inches between their ears.
Mm-hmm. Very good. Miss Kathy Williams?
And the other thing is that as you grow, you need to make sure others are growing. And as an entrepreneur, I look at my business and say, this is where it's at. I don't like to do items A, B, C, and D, but if I get 3 good or 4 good who's that love that, I can build a bigger business because I can grow my own ideas, and I can have those 150 days to grow, to learn, to read, to expand, and probably expand my business in the whole process.
And you actually will. As I was reading this, it reminded me of my first network marketing company. When I was getting over $60,000 a month, I hired a lady to come in to be my who. And then we grew up to over $100,000 a month income. And I actually told her to find her who to help her with what she did. So then what I did, I don't know what this came in my brain. So I had one that lived in Maryland. So she would handle the east, anything on the side of the Mississippi, she would handle. And the one from the Mississippi West, Teresa would handle. It was so fun. Now, I don't know why this came up in this conversation. So my who hired a who to help her because things had grown so big in my organization. So I had a who that hired a who that freed my time up and it gave them more responsibility. And I loved it. And I come to think of it, my income kept going up because I had some who's. So important. Wow, thank you, Lord. That one just dropped in my spirit. I got so much of, woo, golly. All right, with that said, let's jump over to page 237. And let's get to the bottom of the page. It says chapter takeaway. Number 1, it says there are at least 4 core levels of entrepreneurship that you'll need to pass through to go 10x again and again. The faster you go through these levels, the faster and easier each following 10x jump will be. I just talked about that when I'm reading that. And I experienced that when I just talked about. Miss Rutherford.
Well, when we play Monopoly, it says don't collect 200 every time you go around that board. And so there are core levels that we need to pass in order to do this. And the faster, people who make more money than me seem to think the speed loves success, so why not? You see? I mean, I believe even Methuselah was making money all 900 years that he was on the earth. So why not
Mm-hmm.
have your ability and lead by example and work on yourself and be like Dr. Seuss, because who in Whoville was very, very important. Understand that who in life and in business is also integral.
Wow. Thank you, dear. Yeah. Whoville. Miss Williams.
And as you go through your 10X, you will grow, you will change. And what was your 80% 10Xs ago is long gone. And it's become your new 10X, your new 80% that you're going for this time will probably be what was your 20% that got you where you're at now.
Mm-hmm. Very good point. Yes, so true. All right, ladies, let's go to page 240, and I'm going to read the top of the page here. It says the final risk of becoming great is not going 10x. Wow. If you're not going 10x, then the best people will not be attracted to working with you. 2x isn't exciting and motivating for the best who's. Isn't that the truth?
Mm-hmm.
I've seen that so many times. People that can't grow 5 years later, the same spot. 10 years later, they're still in the same spot. Miss Rutherford, what's your comment on that?
Well, it's been said in life that people fall into 4 categories, and a shark is not going to be excited about you talking about the color of the lilies out in the garden. A shark wants to hear about where's the money, where's the growth, where's the excitement. So if you can't provide that, guess what? Shark might eat you on its way out the pool, you understand? But it's not going to be there, and they're not going to be your food. So you have to make up your mind. And as we evolve into the persons that we need to be, we are supposed to be attracting people on that level, on that frequency.
Yes. Thank you, dear. That's so true. Miss Williams, what did you get out of that?
And unfortunately, people are afraid to go 10X because they don't want to lose the people around them. They're more concerned about other people's judgment of them, other people's impression of them, than they are growing themselves.
Yeah, I've seen that a lot. We all seen that through our lives, even in the different businesses we all been in. All right, let's round this up. So that concludes our book. But we're going to give you guys out there tonight a little bit conclusion. We're going to go to a couple here in conclusion to close out this book. So on page 241, the top of the page by Dr. James Hollis said this. Excuse me. In the end, we will only be transformed when we can recognize and accept the fact that there is and will within each of us, quietly inside the range of conscious control and a will which knows that what is right of us. So we all know what we need to do. You just said that. We all know what we need to do, but will we go do it? We have dreams, hopes, dreams, desires, and healing. There's a lot we can do, but we don't do it. So what is your comment on that, Ms. Rutherford?
We are created with free will. Now, through education and through other forms of programming, people either don't know it, don't want to know it, or forget it. But we are created with a free will. And that will is within each of us. And, even through dark times, valleys, whatever, innately. And if you don't know, ask. Ask what your purpose is. Everybody has one. And so we have to, I love, which is repeatedly reporting to us through our bodies, our emotions, our dreams. That's what our free will wants us pursue. And it's up to us to do that.
Very true. Very true. It's up to us. Miss Williams?
Transform the word. We only will be transformed when we can recognize and accept our gifts that were put into us by the Lord. And we don't know how many gifts each one of us have, but it's definitely more than one. And the worst part of it is, if we don't recognize it, we make a deposit in the most expensive real estate in any city, in any country, and that's the graveyard.
That's so true. So true. On page 245, bottom of the page, all the while, I'll continue to be expanding your 4 freedoms. Number 1, freedom of time, freedom of money, freedom of relationship, freedom of purpose. Ms. Rutherford.
Wow, wow, wow. I mean, really, a couple weeks ago, we celebrated freedom, quote unquote, and the birthday of the United States of America. But many of us are time poor, and many of us do not realize that money is a frequency. You got to get on that frequency. And many of us don't believe that we're supposed to be happy within the realm of a relationship. And so they will settle for whatever comes along and pays enough attention. And then freedom of purpose. I said it before. Catherine, you just said it. We all are created with different talents. That's what that parable was about.
Yes.
So find out what yours are, dig them out the doggone ground, and get to it.
Great. Thank you, dear. Time, money, relationship, and purpose. Miss Williams.
With freedom of time, you can do what you want, have relationships with the people you want to have, for the purpose you want to have it for, because you will have the time to create the money to have the relationships to serve the purpose you want that money to serve for.
Wow, that was beautiful. I'm about to go back on here and watch and listen to that and write that down myself. That blessed my heart. Ladies, the last one in our listen audience around the world, we're going to give you one more on the conclusion and one of the bonus, number 3 bonus on page 250. It says halfway, let's see, 1, 2, 3 paragraphs on the bottom. It says, are you going to let go of your 80% again and again, devoting your time to an ever shrinking 20%, within 20%, within the 20%, becoming more powerful, most powerful, unique, and optimizing version of yourself? Wow. Miss Rutherford, to close us out with.
Well, I can tell you no. I'm going to let go of the things that don't serve me, the things that aren't willing to grow, the people who aren't willing to see their gifts inside of themselves. Now, I'll try and show you the best I can, but I can't do it for you because I'm doing it for me. Do you understand? And I'll show you how to do it for yourself. I don't have a problem with it. But you want to teach your baby how to walk. You don't want to carry the baby the whole life.
Yeah, there you go. Very good answer. In closing, Miss Williams.
In closing, I'm letting go of my 80% because there's 80% stuff in my life that I don't enjoy doing at all. And I want to get rid of it so that I can expand, so I have more freedom of time, relationship, purpose, and can grow the money so that those things all have more time for me.
Love it. Thank you so much. Well, ladies, we appreciate your input. I know Ms. Harrison Hills had another engagement to go to. So I thank you all out there. So real quickly, give me a 30-second synopsis, Ms. Rutherford, of the book. Give me 30 minutes, Ms. Williams, of the synopsis of the book real quick so we close it out. 10X is easier than 2X.
You know, I'm just looking at this back cover. See, if you have exponential growth in your life, the lessons in this book are not only critical for survival, but do you want to just survive 2025, or do you want to thrive in 2025?
I love it.
the choice is yours.
Absolutely. Thank you, dear. Appreciate you. Miss Williams?
The book has taught me the importance of going 10x and repeatedly, and looking back at where I have gone 10x in my life.
Mm-hmm.
It's like, oh, all I need to do is build on them more and more, especially as an entrepreneur.
There you go. I love you got your marks in your books as well as mine. I saw that. Ladies and gentlemen, we want to thank you for the wrap up of chapter 6 of 10X is easier than 2X. And we want you all, if you haven't, rush out or go on, and we'll put it in the chat where you can pick up this book. A dear friend of mine, his book called Beach Money. We're going to go into Beach Money. Is going to be our next book we're going to be doing on the channel. So go out and get Beach Money. It's in the chat there. Go ahead and get a copy of Beach Money. And we're going to start off with chapter 1, and it's going to be a great one. So with that conversation, we're going to have a great time with this. Matter of fact, I was with my buddy in Florida last week before I took my cruise, and we flew around Vegas. You'll see on the channel here. We took the doors off the helicopter, flew around Vegas to go out. Folks, this is going to be a great series as well coming up. We thank you all for joining us for this 10X is easier than 2X. So we thank you for joining us for the 6 chapters we did. We hope this blessed you. If you haven't got the book, read the book, study the book, go back and dig in and get a lot of information out. Do us a favor. If you can, leave a comment. A thumbs up, please, would help us out a lot. And also share this video when it's posted with at least 6 or 7 people and friends of yours and discuss it. You know, you can start your own book club with 3 or 4 people that you know and discuss something that you can help you grow from and grow with as an entrepreneur. So with that said, thank you so much for joining us tonight from around the world. We thank you. We look forward to seeing you soon when our next book we're going to be doing is Beach Money. So thank you so much for Jordan Allen. Take care. God bless and have a wonderful evening. Bye-bye.
Thank you, Mr. Thomas. Bye-bye.